Welcome to Season 7 of A Little Birdie Told Me with rollercoaster.ie. I'm your host, Rebecca Horan, and on episode 7, I'm talking to best-selling author, academic, activist and mother, Katriona O'Sullivan. Sponsored by Optimal Follow On. We believe that every feed is a gift. That's why we've dedicated over 50 years to breast milk research. Optimal Follow On milk, your life, our science. Breastfeeding is best. Follow-on milk should be used as part of a mixed diet from 6 months. Talk to a health professional. And if you like this episode, it would be a great help if you could like it, share it, and subscribe to the podcast. Absolutely delighted to be joined by the delicious, I think you like that one, professor, author, advocate, and mother of 3, Katriona O'Sullivan. I got that wrong initially. I was saying you'd 1 or 2 or a couple. You've 3 sons.
3 sons.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited.
To track her down. So obviously I've been a massive, like I wouldn't say fan. I'm just, I think more like I love you since that first clip that I saw of you on BBC Women's Hour. So it was probably over 2 years ago. And obviously I didn't know of you until that clip, and it just seared something through me. And then I got your book, I think the next day, Poor. And from then on have just watched this. And meanwhile, in the background before Poor, you were already establishing a massive career. So it's not like you suddenly overnight became a professor.
Yeah.
Talk to us about that crazy time when Poor came out.
So I was always expecting Poor to be successful.
Okay.
To be honest, and I was always prepared to do whatever it took to make it successful. I think you write a book, anybody writes a book and gets it published, wants the book to get into as many people's hands as possible. So at that particular time when the book was coming out and there was media opportunities coming, I just took all of them. I was like, but you know, I suppose the clip that you're talking about, like I'm good at articulating parts of my story, I suppose, or that particular clip hit people in a way that other things didn't. So that time was really, it was kind of...
Do you remember the clip I'm talking about?
Yeah.
That your belly was empty.
Yeah.
And something about being dirty. I cannot remember the clip, but I just remember bawling.
Yeah.
And I was sitting with my 2 girls making breakfast and I was like, this woman is special.
Yeah, thank you so much. But I think that time it was a bit of a blur. Obviously, I'm doing loads of radio, couple of interviews, and kind of like also know that my book is coming out and like my whole story is in the hands of complete strangers. So it was pretty terrifying, but also really exciting because like you're waiting a year for your book to come out. So I'm waiting and I'm in this anticipation of like, how are people going to read it? Are people going to hate me? Is anyone going to like it? And then all of a sudden I'm in this like media rush. And like, to be honest, like it hasn't stopped. Yeah. It's not that I'm in a media rush now, but like the interest and the opportunities have just really grown from that. And like when you said there that you love me, like it's funny because like it's really lovely, that is. Like there's so many women that actually love me and or love like my story, or love that I'm honest or open or willing to be vulnerable. And that's just lovely.
Yeah, because I don't know you, so I can't say I'm your sister or your friend or your daughter or your lover. So I'm like, I love you. But I love you for the woman I discovered in that book and the child. So all I can say is that I love that.
Yes.
And the rawness that you gave us, which is so hard to find really in modern society. Yeah. Like everyone gives a bit of themselves on social and thinks they're authentic. They're not. Yeah. And that was the most raw I think I've read, even since Frank McCourt, since anything, John Banville. It was the most raw and it was real. It wasn't some fictional thing. Yeah.
I think a lot of people feel like that. And that is actually who I am. So like if you had known me personally, if you asked them to describe me, they would say she's really open, she's very direct, there's no holds barred, you know, she wears her emotions on her sleeve. So like I've always been that way. So what you read is me. That's how I am and how I express myself. I'm very open.
You were born like that though, weren't you? You were saying even in school you were very expressive.
I think I was. I was only talking to my therapist about it recently, about, you know, my character. My earliest memories of myself are of being like direct or open or asking for what I wanted or deserved. It's you know, it's outward. I was always very outward and open and direct. And as a little girl, I can remember, my mum really didn't like that. When I think about the difficulties in our relationship.
Did you feel that?
Oh, yeah. She told me.
Viscerally, you felt she didn't like that part of you.
Oh, I know she didn't like it. And when your mum doesn't like you, because that was who I was, that's a really hard thing to live with as a child, but also as an adult, because your mum is supposed to like you, that's the hidden rules. And when you watch the TV or you meet people or you watch scenes in movies or whatever, mums love their kids generally, so my mum didn't like that about me.
And you felt it went against nature and it went against the given.
Exactly, yeah. But being open is just part of who I am. And the funny thing is, what always surprises me about people's response to my story is they go, oh God, you're so brave.
Oh yeah.
But I believe that we all wear our lives on us. Like if I meet you as a human being, you may think that you're hiding your history from me, but how you wear your clothes, how you speak, how you react, it tells me your history. I just contextualize myself because people who know me know that there's difficulties there as well, and that I can be really angry and react to unjust things. So it wasn't like I don't feel like I revealed anything new to the world. I just contextualized who I am.
We all show, you're correct, we're all showing ourselves really, actually.
Yeah.
And people, and not everyone's going to like you or not everyone's going to, but we're all showing it, and it's what you take from that or what you want to perceive from that.
Yeah.
That kind of is the winning formula. I want to go backwards, obviously, to your story and then and get into so much more while I have you. But I did allude there to that BBC interview because I feel like it's that show is a game changer. It's really important for women, BBC are. We've tried to kind of replicate it here. And I know you're confident, but were you nervous that day doing that interview? Because you knew it was going to be all naked, all out, right? And you knew it was important and you knew it would really change the trajectory of the book. How did you feel?
I didn't think like that beforehand. I don't ever really think like that before interviews. The only interview that I ever felt really, really nervous about was the Late Late Show.
Stop. Is it because it's such a Irish...
Because it's an Irish icon.
Stop
yeah,
it.
so I was shitting myself before the curtains.
Just so nervous.
So really nervous. And I couldn't even pick up my drink because I knew my hands were shaking, and you would have seen it on the TV. With the Women's Hour one, the only thing I was really conscious of was not swearing, because I swear a lot.
Are you not allowed on that?
Oh, well, Penguin had said, the publisher had said, don't swear, because they know I swear a lot. Don't swear on BBC Radio. So all I was thinking about was don't swear. But I am...
I'm sure BBC Radio can handle some swearing.
I know, but I actually was just, that was what was in my head. The thing is, I am a lecturer. I've been teaching for years. So I'm quite confident in my capability to communicate and communicate a story or educate. Though, don't get me wrong, I'm always nervous. I think you should be nervous when you're doing stuff in the media. But for me, I don't ever think about the impact of it. I just think about being in the moment and answering the question. And in that particular case, Nuala, she's Irish as well. She just asked me brilliant questions, and I was able to tell a few stories that really captured the heart of where I'd been and what I'd been through, but also the loving relationship I had with Miss Arkinson. And so that's what went viral in that particular moment.
Why did you write Poor? I know that's probably a stupid question to you, but to me it's yes, you had this life, then you had this other life, then you had another life nearly. Who approached you and why?
So Penguin approached me and asked me if I'd tell my story. I had been in Trinity and I had been interviewed for a news story. A friend of mine had asked me if I would do an interview for Mother's Day for a journalist friend of hers who had... and was interested in interviewing young mothers. And I said, I'd do it. So 3 of us did an interview, and I was just myself. And I said, my mum and dad were heroin addicts, and then I got pregnant at 15 and I was homeless, and now I'm a lecturer in Trinity. And it wasn't in the Mothering Sunday. The Independent had it as a headline piece. Trinity College lecturer, 15, pregnant, homeless, drug addict parents, or something like that. So at that time in my life, I was actually trying to like really hide my history from my colleagues and my friends in Trinity as much as possible. So I was in that space of like, try be one of them. And I felt like I was outed, by the story. And then, it went viral, as stories do sometimes. Trinity were like, this is the most shared story we've ever had. Australia, South Africa. And then Trinity asked me to write a chapter for their book called Trinity Tales. It comes out every 25 years. And that chapter went viral as well. And then Penguin asked me. And then, so there's a difference between writing a book and telling your story. Yeah. And so I was really scared about telling my story, and I was conscious of my family. So it took me about 6 months to say I would do it. But the reason I said yes was I actually feel really privileged. I feel like I've survived poverty. For anyone who doesn't know my story, where have you been? I'm selling myself.
Where the fuck
have you been? Yeah, but I feel like I have something to say in terms of like, I know how I survived. I know what helped me get here. And I think that I have in some ways a responsibility to use my privilege, which is my education and my voice, to be able to try and make things a bit fairer. So that's why I decided that I would do it, at the cost, I suppose, of my own privacy.
And was it at the cost? Tell us, because I want to get into the nitty gritty for a little while, if you don't mind. Are your parents still alive?
No.
Was it at the cost of any other familial relationships? And did you have to go through, like, because that's something I was thinking a lot about. I mean, anyone who hasn't read Poor, like Katriona says, get a grip of yourselves. Get the fucking and it's going to be made into something and blah blah blah, but it's so, you cannot put it down. And then you start comparing. Like, it's really funny. Katriona was like, there was a few women that came up to an event recently, they're like, I was also poor, and Katrina's like, no, there's poor and there's poor.
Yeah.
And I think that's the most incredible line. You were like, you don't know poor until you know my poor.
Yeah.
But you can say you were poor, but you probably had love.
Yes.
And I remember that line stuck with me. I was like, you're fucking right.
I know. So I use this conversation a lot now. There's a lot of people who sidle up to me and go, I was poor too. Like Pat Kenny even did it,
I can't.
That was hilarious. But I was driving in for my news
the researcher.
talk. Yeah, and I was driving in for my interview with News Talk, and I heard Pat say, and I want to talk to this lady, Katriona O'Sullivan, about being poor. And I was like, oh my God, I'm not going in to have a fight with Pat Kenny. So I rang the researcher. I'm not fighting with Pat Kenny about poverty. And when I arrived in, he called me to one side and he said, I had no money. And I said, Pat, poverty has absolutely nothing to do with money. So loads of my community had no money, but they had jobs, and they had a mum usually who was sending the kids to school, who would hug them and feed them and be consistent. And their values were different. Poor people, which is about 5% of Irish kids now, 5 to 8, their values are different. They see school as something to get to and through and survive. Social welfare is a goal for us, because survival is the most important thing. And so poverty has layers. And my call to action in my book is, understand that. Don't judge it. Understand why we are the way we are. We're still great people. I'm still excellently talented and worth as much love as anybody else. But I was mistreated because I was poor at the end of the day. And so I think, that story that you're talking about, when people sidle up to me and say it, I kind of go, I know when someone was poor. Because, we relate to each other on a different level,
And there's a kind of wanting to be part of you, and solidarity and love for you. And I'm sure deep down in your heart it can irritate you but I'd say there's some kind of, I'm in your gang, Katriona. And I'm sure that fucking annoys you sometimes, but I saw it that day and I thought, that would grate after a while.
No, it doesn't.
Okay.
No, I kind of love the people talking to me. I love hearing people's stories. I really love people
Women
reflecting.
cry.
I know, they cry.
When they come up to you, and that is, like, honestly, I'm emotional now. It's very powerful.
I know.
Like, they don't even say anything and they start crying to you. And it just shows how all of us, in myriad ways and in layered ways and in deep, dark ways, have some traumas, right?
Yes.
And we're all hooking on to the other person with the trauma.
I know. I think what it is there's different themes in my story. All of us, all women, I think, have felt, the negative eye of men on us. All of us have experienced that in some way, or all of us have had to deal with a pregnancy that was hard, or they didn't want, or all of us. So in my book, while I write about being poor, I also write about these themes that women relate to. And I also think, just saying it, just being honest, you know, I've given voice to some things that other women might not feel capable of being able to say.
Why? Shame?
I think so. I mean, it isn't easy to be completely open about
Why?
what happened to you. Well, judgments, shame. It's not the done thing, and I think particularly, you know, women who have been more privileged, they find it really, really hard to be out, because you have to maintain a certain perception or a certain aura.
Sure, we all die in a box anyway.
I know. But like, it would be easy if we all thought like that. But we grow up, we're socialized into certain ways. And like
the curtain, the peeping curtains, the Miss Havisham mums, the judgment,
But some women cry because they just feel sad for me.
Yeah, no, true.
They just want to give me a hug. Like, I get a message every day, at least once a day, since the book came out, from a woman who says, I just want to get 7-year-old you and give you a hug. Can I just give you a hug? Like, literally, that's all they want to do. So people cry because of that. Some people cry for themselves. Some people cry for their mums. Like, what I hear a lot is people saying, my mum, your story is my mum's story. And you've helped me understand my mum. Wow. Or you've helped me realign how I felt about my mum, or I felt about my mum's addiction or my dad's addiction. So there's a complex reason why people cry, but it's a gorgeous thing, and it doesn't drain me. No, it makes me...
You're the most energetic person. I love that about it. It's actually one of the best traits about you, besides your smarts and all that, and your ambition. You're very energetic. It's very rare. A lot of people have all the other stuff, but they don't have energy.
Yeah, I've always had energy. And that's one of the gifts I got from my family. You know, energy. We were full of energy. Love it. Like the crack in my gaff as well as the misery. But there was so much crack, like so much energy, so much upbeat music. It's always been in me. There's always been a bit of an energy and a light in me, which I'm lucky to have
tell
had.
me. Katriona O'Sullivan, you are born in the UK. Mm-hmm. Where?
Coventry. So the middle of England. Completely shit area.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, an absolute shithole. So one of the interesting things about when you work in poverty, loads of cities claim to be the poorest city in the UK or in Ireland. Or, you know, there's a fight between Donegal and Longford, actually, funny, about being the poorest county.
Brilliant.
And so... Yeah, but I grew up in a place called Hillfields, which was one of the most deprived areas in England.
Irish parents?
Irish parents. My dad was born in Ireland. My mum's dad was Irish. So my dad was moved to England when he was 19 or 18 or 19, met my mum at a bus stop, asked her for directions. She said, I'll show you somewhere. She took him home and never left. And they went on this journey of addiction together, got pregnant really quickly.
Were they addicts that young? Were they?
Oh, yeah.
Right.
My dad
Were they from poverty, Katriona? Where is that? No.
So my mum was poor, and her mum was poor. She had siblings that were in care she didn't know about. Yeah. Like, my nanny was poor, but she was a lovely woman, my nanny was. I loved her.
So she came from love?
No, my mum was beaten a lot as a kid by her dad. So her dad was an alcoholic, and her mum she loved cough bottles. My nanny did. No, I didn't know any of this. So she was just my nanny who gave me Murray mints. But my mum had a traumatizing childhood as well as real poverty. You know, they lived in it wasn't a caravan. It was like I can't remember the name of them now. They were like metal prefabs. So she grew up poor. I think her mum was poor too. Generally, it passes on. But my dad actually was adopted in Ireland when he was 5. So he was born in a mother and baby place and went to 5 foster homes. We didn't know the story. I know it fully now. 5 different foster homes till he was adopted when he was 5. But he was already traumatized. So I have his records, you know, wet in the bed. He had a lot of trauma. And so for him, he had this lovely, leafy, clontarf life. But my dad was already messed up. And at 18, he left. And he was already starting on his addiction in Ireland. Okay. And went to England and, met my mum. And they were just like...
And that was a force to be reckoned with. They were both addicts with trauma.
Yeah.
And love for each other.
Yeah. The thing about my mum and dad is... They really did love each other.
Did they?
So they stayed... It's very rare that addicts stay together. And it's very rare to have 2 addicts as a parent. Generally, what you have is one
and the other fighting.
And the other trying to save and keep it going. But in my case, it was the 2 of them. But they did love each other. Like, you know, this is the madness of my house. You know, like, they'd be... taking drugs all day. And
what
then,
was their drug of choice?
Well, heroin.
What could they afford? Heroin.
Oh yeah, heroin.
And how do they pay for that? Through their social?
Oh yeah, my dad was a criminal. My mum prostituted herself. Like, it was horrific. They were criminals. Like, they sold drugs, robbed houses. It was crime. But they would be like partying all day in the house, or fighting all day in the house, and then they'd put on like Dr. Hook, and they'd have a slow dance in the living room. It's because they loved each other, but they were just really bad for each other, really, really bad for each other. And their addictions, robbed them of their life, but robbed me of everything that a child should have. I mean, the basics, food. Like there was long periods without a meal. And then the other things that, every child deserves are like hugs and consistency. So consistency was really important, and none of that, and fear and vulnerability. So yeah, it was really tough, really, really tough.
They died. You're saying they were still together? Like, as in they never split?
No, they split a couple of times when my dad had an affair.
Okay.
My mum stabbed my dad in the head. There was a lot of drama. They split a couple of times. They never stayed apart though. They loved each other. And I don't know if in the end, if it was love, it was comfort, but they couldn't be away from each other. Definitely.
Did you always wish as a child that they would just split?
I wish that my mum would leave and I could be on my own with my dad. And that's not healthy. Now as an adult. Why,
Katriona?
Like, my dad had energy like me. He
was
had
a good vibe.
He had a light in him.
Okay.
But he was a bad guy.
Okay.
But like, my dad kind of used me as his comrade, so sometimes he would love me and make me feel really special. And like, when that happens, when you're like young like that and you're not getting any love, I just wanted that so much. And my mum was just so volatile and unable to maintain. My dad maintained some level of normality in his addiction. It was really bad at times, but my mum couldn't maintain any. So it was like better him than her. And like, my dad actually kind of made me a partner in some ways to him. So he told me things about my mum and kind of made me his friend.
Confidant.
Yeah. So I used to hope that she would leave and we'd be left with him. But then as an adult, as I grew up, I wanted her to leave him. As a woman, when I saw the truth, when I began to see the truth, I wanted her to leave him. And there was a space for about a year where she left my dad in Ireland, and she was amazing. Like, because he ruined her, like, he did. Some of him ruined her, like he was quite controlling with her. And she when she got away with him, she was able to find her own ground, and she started to blossom, and it was gorgeous to witness as an adult. And I was so hopeful, like, I'm actually going to get a man, she's actually someone, she's going to love me. And then he came back, and then they got back together, and that was it. Then she went back into her addiction. And yeah, so as an adult, I wanted her to leave him. As a child, I wanted him to leave her.
I wanted to ask a question on that, but my mind is just like...
When you asked me about the familial relationships over writing the book, my eldest son, John, didn't want me to write it.
Why?
Because two reasons, I think. John plays professional football, and he's seen the wicked side of the media.
Yeah.
And so he was protective of me and worried that I would be vilified and that it was be represented in a real negative way. But also, more importantly, my dad was a wonderful granddad to him. Like, he was amazing to John. Oh, yeah. So like, poor only takes you to a certain point and doesn't take you anywhere else. So like, you get to, when you write a book, you have to find the arc and then end. But like, my dad was a brilliant granddad. He got sober. He loved John. They had an amazing relationship. John's dad wasn't in his life. I'm not going to talk too much about John's story, but John didn't want to hear anything bad about his granddad and was worried that I was going to turn him into this pantomime villain. And so he was really against that.
That's your story.
Yeah.
That's your dad. And I get what I don't know what you're saying because I don't know that. But that is your story to tell. And I think sometimes with things like this, it's a bit of a boundary, or I don't know.
I think with my son though, like, you know, obviously because I had him so young and I always wanted to be an amazing mum to him. Like, and I wasn't always when I was younger. I really didn't want to hurt him anymore. You know, I wanted to maintain because we've got a really good relationship. So like making the decision to
come out and talk.
Yeah, and to say no to him was hard. But I kind of said to him, John, you need to trust me that this is not going to be my, an angry tale of my dad's. And it isn't that. And it's also that I have to make decisions for myself as well. Like, you're a man, you make decisions for yourself. So that was a tough bit. But like he's delighted with it. You know, he's really happy with the book. So I'm glad that it's actually got better, because him reading about me, he's been able to understand me better.
But empathise with stuff he might have.
Yeah.
Like when you say initially, obviously at 15, 16, you weren't the best mom ever, and with no resources, help, but God, for fuck's sake. So it gives him insight. There's a few things I want to pick out. I don't want to dwell too much on stuff you've talked about. I know that you've talked in so many interviews about stuff, but things that when I read it, like the prostitution you said there, your mum prostituting herself. As a woman, as a girl, as a little girl, as a female in that house, I mean, how many siblings were there?
There was 5 of us.
5 of you.
Yeah.
There's a moment in that where you see her and you... Tell me honestly, Katriona, how on earth that is... what you understand about that as a little girl.
I didn't know. I didn't understand what it was. I knew that what them women did was bad. So like,
why did you know it was bad?
Because we used to slag them. So like the kids in the estate. So there was a wall where the prostitutes used to stand, and the kids where I lived, we'd all go there, and the older kids would shout things like £20 an hour. But I didn't know what that meant. I just knew that they were doing something bad, and that these were women that were bad, according to all of my friends. But I had no idea what they were doing. Like, honestly, no idea. I'd see men pull up in cars and women bend over and get in the cars. I didn't know what they were doing, but I knew it was bad because the neighbourhood let us know that it was bad. And so, yeah, seeing my mum do that.
Did that devastate you?
It didn't. It did. It didn't devastate me. I just ran home to my older brother and I was like, she's up there. And then I woke up to actually seeing men coming in and out of my house and witnessing the transactions that happened, and being so, like, the only fear I had was that my dad wasn't going to come home, and not being able to say that to anyone.
Did he know?
He came out of prison and he found out, and that was awful too. But
did you hear things with other men? Was
oh yeah, I seen it, and I write about it. You know, these men that just used her at the end of the day. And you know, sex work is a controversial topic in Ireland, and in the world. It's a controversial topic. In the case of a vulnerable woman, I think sex work is abuse. You know, my mum was a vulnerable woman who clearly had an addiction, and men used her and took advantage of her vulnerability at the end of the day. And that, I don't know if she ever recovered from that. I actually don't think she did.
Could you?
I know. I think that broke her as a human being.
That can happen once to a woman and it can destroy their life, and that was happening over and over. So your mum could feed something. How could that not have destroyed her?
Yeah. I think though it destroyed all of us in some ways. Because, you know, my older brother had responsibility for like minding her in that situation. So it was really difficult, and I'm conscious of, you know, emotionally it's even difficult to talk about it. So I'm conscious of listeners, but I didn't know what it was. You know, like I just knew it was a bad thing. And then all of a sudden it was like I saw this other world. And when you're 8 or 7 or 6 and you're witnessing these transactions happening with your mother, it's really horrible. Like seeing her go to bed with somebody, like walk into the bedroom, not even knowing fully what was going on in the bedroom. So like as a child, like I didn't have the cognitive capability to integrate that information. And we talk about trauma, you know, trauma is where you can't integrate what you experience into your existing cognitions because maybe your age, or because it doesn't match, or because it hurts so much. And in that situation, it was something that I just couldn't integrate. So if you imagine, I was just stressed all the time and didn't really understand. And then my dad came out of prison and he was like clean and sober then, and he was so angry at her, you know, and he was so angry at his friends for letting her do that. But they weren't his friends. They were just other addicts, you know. So, yeah, that was a really horrific experience.
I found that the most, I found, as someone who knows nothing and didn't go through that for you, how painful that would have been to see my mother, and how painful it must have been for her and then the rest of the family. But I wanted, like, how does addiction in a house present itself? Like, you speak about hungry bellies. What else are you seeing? Are you seeing them shooting up? Are you seeing paraphernalia? Are people coming and going? Is it a clean home? Are you clean?
No. So it progresses, actually. So it got, as I got older, it got worse. So addiction, I think the central feeling or the central thing is like this unconscious awareness that you're not the priority, that there's something else they need and it's not you.
Oh my God.
And so in my house, I knew what she needed and I knew what he needed to make them.
And it wasn't you.
Okay, no, it wasn't me. And in some way you're complicit in it because you want them to get that thing because you know that it's going to make them better in the sense. So like I remember my mum dying sick, you know, because heroin's a horrific addiction in terms of the physical reaction when you don't have it, and watching her dying on the chair because she didn't have any, I would have done anything to get it myself. But like, I personally think that alcohol is the worst type of addiction, personally, in my experience, because they went from being heroin addicts to alcoholics. The heroin, they were quiet and you knew where they were. However, what they would do for it was a lot worse because it's so addictive and so you need it so much. And so the moral side of their behavior just became completely amoral. And yeah, like the vulnerability of being in a house like that is like it become a shooting gallery. Like people will come in and use your kitchen, and when they're not in, they climb in the windows to use your house. It was really scary for a good period. And then, you know, social services got involved at that particular period in our childhood. But like, yeah, living in a house where the priority isn't you and you know it is so hurtful. Forget about the food. Like, obviously being hungry is really hard. But like when you're always aware that you're second or third to something.
But you are special in that, and I'm not going to say survived. Obviously you did survive hell, right? But you're special in who you are now, and you're successful, and you're, you know, running a family home, and not everyone gets out. Not everyone gets... Is it because you're... Please don't tell me no. It's because the program in Trinity... It's not just that, Katriona. There's something in you.
But like, I don't think it's something in me. I need to say that. No. I think I honestly know that. Like all of my siblings, we were all bright and vivacious and energetic. Some are quieter than me. All of the kids on my road who experienced the same thing. Every one of us had the same potential that I have. There's nothing unique about me. I think some of the things to say about growing up in the house that I did is like it wasn't all bad. So like one of the other things that I wanted to bring in when I wrote Poor was like this idea that someone's just an addict and they're just a bad person. Like my dad taught me to read. He loved literature. He loved the news. My mum was an amazing, you know, she was a brilliant dancer. They loved music. There was great crack and life and soul. And so parts of the reasons, though, I suppose, why I'm here, I think personality does make a difference. Not as in like, but I know this from psychology. So kids who are outgoing and beautiful, obviously I'm beautiful, and are easier, get more from other people outside of their home. So like outside of my home, people responded to me in a really positive way. Some people did. And that mattered. That made a difference to me.
You were saying sorry to interrupt you, but you were even saying one person, because I'm saying there, and I wanted you to counteract that. It's because you're unique and special, Katriona, and you were like, no. And I've heard you speak at the gathering that people start believing in you and hanging on, and that is what gives you hope, actually. And if we could all start... And that story you tell, which if you could tell it, like about your parents not attending a parent-teacher meeting and a teacher coming to the door.
Yeah, so like there's about 5, I'd say across my lifetime, maybe there's about 5 people I can name outside of my family who transformed my life.
And that is essential, right?
That's essential. And like there's a whole conversation there's a whole movement, one good adult in a child's life. Like that's the truth. Like, you know, we should all be the good adult in the child's life or else other adults' lives. And in my case, so the story you're talking about, so like I had really bad teachers who didn't understand trauma and didn't understand what that looked like in a child, who mistreated me. But I also had amazing teachers who actually knew that talent was equally distributed, but the opportunity was not, and they treated me accordingly. And it wasn't dependent on me being a good girl.
Yes, I love this.
Because I wasn't a good girl.
You didn't have to be good.
No, because I wasn't a good girl.
I love this.
I couldn't regulate myself. Traumatized kids find it hard to regulate
And you go
themselves.
to school as a fucking outlet.
I know. And I went to school for the food, by the way.
But for
the
crack,
free dinners.
for the food,
for the dinners.
For the whatever. Get me
and
out
I
of the
loved to
house.
read, and I did. So Mr. Pickering. So when I was in primary school, I had an amazing primary school teacher. He taught me that I was just worth something.
This is Miss Arkinson. Made sure that you were clean.
Clean. Gave me breakfast nearly every morning. And she taught me that she believed in me, irrespective of how I acted. She placed a light inside of me, and it's never gone out. And it's never gone out. We can do that all the way through with everybody we meet. Remember that.
Miss Arkinson kills me.
I know, but like...
Is she still alive?
Yeah, I went for tea with her last year. She's amazing.
But she loved you.
She loved all of us.
Yeah, okay.
She loved all of us equally, all the kids.
Is she the one that sent you for the messages?
Yes.
I can't. Like, you would never... She would send you to do the messages and you would never complete the task.
No.
She
would still ask me.
you.
Yeah, so she was Irish as well, and she used to, you know, in class, you know the way teachers are quite dramatic. She'd say, "Who wants to do a job? Who wants to do a job?" And I'd be like, "Not fucking me." And it felt like she always picked me. She'd say, "Katriona, take this message down the hallway for me." And I'd walk out the door and I'd run out of school into the playground because we had a lovely climbing frame, and she'd come out and find me and bring me back in. We'd deliver the message. And then the next day, "Who wants a job?" And she'd say, "Katriona." And for about a year, she picked me for jobs.
And the snotty bitches up front, "I'll do it."
I know. It was the good girls that I used to sit next to would always have their hand up to do the jobs. And for a year, she picked me to do jobs. For a year, I never fucking did it. Never delivered it. But there's something about being in the presence of another person who believes in you, irrespective of how you actually act, that goes into you.
This is proper psychology.
It's like osmosis. It's like I remember leaving her at some point and having this other sound, this other voice in my head. I'd always had this voice that said really quietly to me, "You're not lovable." Because when your mum doesn't love you, that's really problematic as a child. So I'd always had this real dark, deep thing that no one loved me. And then after being with her, this other little whisper of, "Miss Hawkinson thinks you're special. She thinks you're someone." And there was lots of adults like that. About 5.
Mr. Pickering.
Mr. Pickering. So then, like, her kids turn into angry teenagers. Like, when you're faced with an angry teenager, you got to see in them why they're like that. And oftentimes you go two ways with the type of life I had. You go really quiet, and you go down and dark and in, or you go out and angry. And I was out and angry. And I'd fight and I'd bully people. And I think about adolescence, the scene in the secondary school. That was my school. I was the kid who was saying to the policeman's kid, "Give me your money." Like, that was me. Yeah, it really amazes me when you say, "I love you, I love you." I'm like, "You want to love me then?"
You don't know.
No, but maybe you would have. But, I wasn't.
I would have.
But angry teenagers, and good teachers see past the front and recognise the talent within. And Mr. Pickering saw the talents. He saw that I loved words and I could articulate myself, and I secretly liked to read. Mm-hmm. I never let people know that because it's not very cool to read, but he saw it. So he used to give me books, and he'd ask me to read out loud, and he'd value my opinion and tell me I was great. And then he came to my house. It was parent-teacher meeting. And my mum and dad never went. And I opened the front door this evening. It was about 9:00, and he's standing there, and he said, "Is your dad there?" And I thought, "Oh my God, I'm in trouble. I did something wrong." And my dad comes to the door, and I listen to what they're saying. And Miss Pickering just says to my dad, "Mr. O'Sullivan, I really wanted to meet you tonight." And my dad apologised. Like, my dad wasn't this, like, shameless character.
Yeah.
And Miss Pickering said, "Oh, I just wanted the opportunity to tell you how talented your daughter is. She's amazing. She's so good at English. Wow, she's gifted. And I just think you should be doing more to help her." And my dad apologised again, and he came in and didn't look at me. And I swear, but me behind the door, like a grew. Oh my God, Mr. Pickering thinks you're somebody. Mr. Pickering thinks you're special. And like, my story is that. It's the message to you, to all of us, to see past the anger, to see past the hurt, to recognise potential, and to do everything we can to make it shine. And the good adults in my childhood and my adulthood, because I'm a professor. I am amazing and I'm really clever, but I'm not here because I forced my will on it. I'm here because even as an adult in university, in my job in Maynooth, other adults, other people who knew before me saw potential and said, "You should do this. You're brilliant. You can do this." And so, yeah, Miss Pickering was one of many, but he was really, really wonderful. And I think, like I imagine my earlier life, because I got to be honest, like, I wanted to die a lot of the time. I didn't want to live. Like, it's really hard. When I got pregnant with John and I was in the hostel, I was so alone.
I was going to say, you've come from that school into that life.
I was so alone. That was the hardest part to write about. The hardest part to revisit.
Was that time?
Oh, God, yeah. Because, like, I'm responsible for someone.
At 15.
And I didn't
Katriona.
know. I didn't know what to do. And I didn't want to be like her.
Okay.
I did not want to be like her. And I didn't know what to do, though, because I have no skills.
But you kept your baby.
I did.
You chose,
I did. And I went into the hostel and I had him. And when he came into the world, oh my God, I loved him. Like the rush of love I had. And I remember when I saw John, I gave birth to him, I saw him. And I thought, oh, did she feel that way for me?
there's always this
did
narrative
she feel
about your mum, right?
Yeah, of course. And it's there now because I'm particularly thinking about it right now and what I'm writing about now. But yeah, there was a whole kind of like want to love him and make him safe, and then not knowing how, and also having all the consequences of what I'd been through inside me directing me, because I didn't have control over myself. I didn't have the capacity to choose to be a good girl. I just didn't have it, even though I wanted it so bad. And that was a really hard time of my life, really tough.
Just lonely?
Lonely, aware that I'm on my own. Because, like, I think I've always been lonely. But you can live...
Wow. You think you've always been lonely?
Always been lonely.
Even now?
No. I'm loved now. And I can love now. But I think as a young person growing up the way I did, I always felt alone. But I always had a dream that it wasn't that way. I always had this hopeful idea that someone would rescue me and my dad would do something, or this would happen or that would happen. When I was in the hostel and I on my own with baby, there was no dream.
Where was the guy?
Oh, he was there. He never came ever to the hostel. I was there for 18 months, never visited once. I still let that though, because the esteem, the value of myself was so low, minus, not even zero, minus. So whatever I could get, whatever you could give me, whatever love was available, I'd take that. And so he was there, but he wasn't. He didn't rescue me, didn't come for me. But also, he was young and messed up too. He was 17, I was 15. What was he going to do at the end of the day? He didn't have the capabilities either.
Your self-esteem now is so strong that no one, I don't think you're breakable. I'm amazing. I know I'm amazing. I'm gorgeous. I'm accomplished. All of these words, and they fall out. It's not like, I'm putting on a facade for the people in the media.
Yeah.
But you had rock bottom shit self-esteem, obviously no confidence. Is it therapy? Is it what is it? As a freaking professor, what is it that takes you from zero?
Yeah.
Because I often think it's personality or genetics, or it's intrinsically built. It doesn't matter your privilege. Some people have a lot of self-esteem, but you're telling me, no, you built this.
It's funny you say that, because this morning I had an incident happen in my family with one of my siblings. And it was horrific, actually. It was really abusive. And so when stress hits me or when there's a difficulty in a relationship, like my foundation is unstable. So like that never goes away. Like, but this is one of the other reasons I wrote my story is we need to protect children from that. You know, we need to make sure that you don't have to go through years and years of therapy to be able to mind yourself when things are difficult. And so me knowing that I'm amazing and having self-esteem is also coupled with vulnerability to darkness. So like you don't see me then. Sometimes I do share it on social media as well when things are tough. But like I think you can inhabit two spaces. Yeah. You can know your worth and know you're beautiful and know you're successful, but also feel sad or low or down or inadequate and have both of them things exist at the same time. And I do. And at times, one of the things that I have developed through therapy and through that commitment to myself, which is really hard to do, is there's a reflective side of me that wasn't there before, whereby when something hard happens, difficulty in a relationship or a friendship or whatever, and I have the deep feeling that goes with that, my foundations are rocked. If you imagine like a reservoir of hurt, a stone has dropped in it and it goes really deep and I'm shook. I have this other side, this reflective side that says, this is old, you know, like you're okay. You can manage hard feelings. You don't have to be scared. You know, you're safe. Because the old child that's in me, the vulnerable kid, she's still there. She still pops out when hard things happen, when I'm reminded of like the bad times or the bad things. So what I'm saying is I do have self-esteem, but I also have doubts, and I also worry that I'm not enough, or that I worry that I don't belong, or sometimes I know I don't belong. So I have all of these complex things going on, but I also am aware that I am really, really amazing. And I mean, I have practice around that to remind myself of that. Like when you have gratitude is a reminder of where you were and where you are now. And for me, it's like I always practice gratitude. I'm always conscious of where I come from, and that's always in the front of my head. I mean, Dave, we talk a lot about where we've come from. That's a regular thing that we do as a practice in our marriage to remind ourselves of how lucky we are, how amazing our life is, to keep always present the gift of our life. So that's work. It isn't just like I've got great self-esteem and it's in here in a big jar. It's like I work to have self-esteem and I work to experience my amazingness and to share that with people. And I work to keep that at the front of my mind. That's not psychology, by the way.
No, that's just fucking work. Katrina's like told us there she was a single. God, I'm going to keep you for 7 hours. She was a single mother, and the darkness and loneliness of that time. And then things changed, not because someone necessarily, one person picked you out of a hole or picked you for, X Factor. You know, things were really hard as a single mother. I can imagine at that time in Dublin. Yeah. And this Trinity Access program is kind of this light, right? This beacon of light. And if you know Katrina's story, you'll know that she fucking aced everything she does because she's this. But what has come from that? Like, how many years ago is that? And who you are, is mind blowing.
Yeah. So, Trinity. Trinity was never like, I didn't know anyone who went to Trinity, and I thought you had to eat couscous, have been interrailing, have a MacBook, and speak really.
Fucking wheels this out.
I know, but it's true. Like, and the majority of people go to Trinity. You know, their mum and dads have been to Trinity.
There's
or
a lot
UCD.
of English people as well.
Yeah, but there is, and there's not. I can't remember. I can't forget the people from the country who always tell me I felt different too because I'm from the country. But you might have been a bit privileged even if you are from the country.
Yeah, totally.
But like when I went to Trinity, you know, the conditions were correct for me to be able to demonstrate my excellence to the world that I didn't know I had. So like I had support with childcare. I had someone to ask for help from. I had a free course. I didn't lose anything. And when all that was in place, like I actually got an opportunity to learn in an academic way, because I didn't do that in school fully because I couldn't because of my life. And when I, like, I suppose the elixir for me was achievement. Like getting told by this institution that I was good enough was just addictive in some way. And it was powerful.
Yeah.
It was, you know, when I talk about gratitude, it was like, oh my God, I'm not a stupid girl. I'm actually really clever. And it really, I didn't feel that all the time when I was in it. It was like afterwards I'd achieve it and then I'd go, oh, I'm really good at this. And so, yeah, like Trinity was amazing and hard all at the same time because I really learned how different I am and my life was at the same time. And I saw privilege. I saw so much privilege. I was like, wow, that really is what happens in their homes, of that what they have. So there was a real eye-opener to the world. But in terms of the academics, wow, learning that I was good at something and learning that I could work hard and had this capacity to work and achieve was just unbelievable. And I also just, I love to learn. I love reading, I love to learn, and I found a place where I could do that really happily. I didn't have to hide it. I wasn't terminally cool anymore because I was like that in school. Yeah. So yeah, that was like, I got into Trinity in 2003. I did the Access course, which is a year-long program for young people who have been underserved or mature students. And then I got in and did psychology. And honestly, I'm going to be real, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I got offered law, psychology, philosophy, and BES. And I literally looked at the course. I loved all the courses, and psychology was 10 hours a week. Okay. The least hours. And I had a kid, I was on my own. Yeah. So I took psychology. Yeah. It wasn't a strategic decision. Fuck it. Yeah. But I love learning and I knew I was going to love it anyway. And it just, just took off. Now I failed loads of things in college. Like statistics, I failed. In my first exam, I failed. And like, I suppose in terms of who am I as a person and how did I get through, I was like, right, I need to work at the things that I'm not good at. Not work at the things that I'm good at, work at the things that I'm not good at. So like by that stage, I'm in recovery. I don't drink, I don't drug, I don't smoke. I'm in therapy. And now I'm able to like be a good human and make decisions. And so how I succeeded was I'm going to work on the things I'm bad at. I'm not going to work at like the things I love. And so that got me a really good position in university, allowed me to flourish and get a first class honours degree. And like, so
Come on.
That I know.
Come on.
I know. Look it. There's never a day.
Loads of privileged people don't get that.
I know.
So step back from that for a second. Loads of privileged people with money, support, hugs at home don't get that.
I know. And you know what? There is not a day since that where I haven't at some moment in my day acknowledged that. So like it is a gift that I gave to myself, the work. Because like, it wasn't like my life was easy. I wasn't just a student. I was a lone parent. I had a baby in second year, didn't take any time out. Had Sean in February, did my exams in May, and went back in September.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
okay.
Had a baby in second year. Met Dave.
I did know that, sorry.
Met Dave in first year.
Yeah.
But I suppose,
you like to do it the hard way.
Well, I think there is a tendency for me to create stress.
Okay.
So like create chaos. People, it's easier sometimes for me to deal with chaos than peace.
100%.
And that is a consequence of my history as well. So like, give me a drama.
I had all the babies while studying.
And but then I had one in my PhD then. So I was like, I did my PhD, first year PhD. I got pregnant with Tig. Now, so I wasn't always... Now, don't get me wrong, though. The love of Dave and the journey of that was just wonderful. And to me, like...
Where'd you meet Dave?
I met him in an AA meeting.
Stop.
Yeah, but I'd met him before. He was living with a fella that I used to date. Well, not even date. He was just someone I rode a few times. Nice. And he lived with him. And then I met Dave one night in AA meet a few months later. And I was on this healing journey. And I was like staying away from men. And I was loving myself. And I met Dave. And Dave was just like the man of my dreams. Like, honestly. And he's just the most decent, committed person. So he just wanted what I wanted, which was a loving home, peace, joy, connection, and attraction, because we had amazing chemistry as well. And but like we're together 21 years. Like, it's not like we met 21 years ago, fell in love, and now it's just still the same
all the day. Yeah.
No. I'm 47.
She's too hot.
We're not boning every day. It's gone. Listen. Dry Gina. Let's yes.
Her next book is The Poor Gina.
Yes.
Sorry, we shouldn't joke.
I know. But, you know, marriage is work, but like good work at the end of the day. I met a man a partner who was willing and has always been willing to adjust. And I've always been willing to adjust. Not fundamentally.
Yeah.
But like adjust ourselves to each other. And I think that's the hidden rule of a good marriage. And also we're just really grateful people. Like
I think the gratitude thing you keep saying, I'm really stuck on that. I think you can have all the other juice, but if you're not grateful and you're constantly moaning and dissatisfied, like it's never going to end well, really.
Yeah, some of the tricks like that I use in our marriage, like even yesterday, I'm like, what was the happiest day, Dave? You know, what was your happiest day? But I do that a lot. We do that a lot. It's like reliving the joyful times. And because it's, you know, just remember that time in Rome.
I sometimes send a photo like of one of the babas when they were younger, because that's a very emotional, emotive thing, or a really nice trip or something. And you're right, on a shit day it can be like, God, things aren't that fucking bad.
They're amazing. They're great. And like
how do you parent? What do you like as a mum?
I am I'm 3 laddos. Yeah, so it would have been different with John than I am with the other lads. So John would always slag me and say, them lads are just living the life of Riley. Like I was actually, like, obviously when John was small, I was very unmanageable. I had my own addiction issues and I wasn't great. First couple of years, I really struggled. And then once I got my shit together, I think with John, like John would say, like I was quite controlling, I'd say. Like I was really fearful of him drinking and like his partner, he's been with Sarah since they were 15. Like she would say, you would come and find us in the park. Like,
because you were scared.
Yes. And so, you know, I was quite, controlling, I think, with John. But I was always on his side. Like I'm a lioness, you know, like if anybody says, like John plays football, and when he was a kid, like I used to drive around on a moped. I had a moped and he'd be on the back. I'd go every match I was there. I was his biggest fan, and I would be like, anybody says anything to him, anyone, you know, like I'm on his side. I'm like that with all the kids though. I'm a lioness. Like, don't fuck with my kids, you know. Yeah. But the other lads now, like I think I'm pretty relaxed with them now. I don't think they'd say that, because I'd be like, why haven't you cleaned your room? Why aren't we doing this? Like, but I think like I'm a lot more at ease with myself. And I also know that they've just not had no trauma. There's no drama for them. Like if they fuck up, it's on them at the end of the day, because like us as parents, we've really done a good job.
But do you feel like you're living, Katriona O'Sullivan, in a sitcom of the people you thought, you know, the hugging and the...
No.
Do you feel like you're living in a sitcom? No.
Nah, we're still us. I'm still me.
Still real.
Nah, like I'm still... You don't leave the street behind. Like Dave's from a really working class background. So like I would love to say, now I'm just a privileged man. No, there's a bit of street in us and there's a bit of street in the kids. And I'm like, I wish that wasn't in them. I wish they didn't have, but it's still in me. So like, you know, they swear a good bit, and you know, so you don't leave out, you don't just get away from it. But I am different. And I suppose the level of awareness of like attachment and adapting myself to their personalities. Like I've 2 younger sons are completely different to each other. So we really have to adapt to them and their personalities and their styles.
You're so self-aware, fucking hell.
Yeah, but I sometimes I'm not. I'm like, why don't you go out and play? You know, screaming, get off your phone. Yeah. Adolescence has made me go, get off your phone 7 million times more a day, and then just leave him on his phone, because like that's what I do. I know. I swear to God, these parents who are like, my son doesn't have a phone. I'm like, how are you doing that as a parent? You know, I'm constantly feel like I'm failing. I think
it's the hard pull against having your kid be loved and popular and liked and have friends, and just making that massive hard decision. And I don't think, like, and I'm not in that stage, so I'm completely preaching to that, like I haven't a clue. But I'm always like, I'm going to be really hell-bent on that. But when my children, they're only babas. When they're older, maybe it won't be as obsessive. I don't know, will it be cyclical?
Yeah.
Talk to me about the incredible work you're doing now before I let you go. Like you are... I can't actually, and I love that you have a ton of energy, but I'm also exhausted for you. But I love that you're fighting the good fight.
Yes.
Your fingers are in so many pies. Like last week we couldn't do the, I'm in the Dole. I've fucking meet some minister of Japan. Like you're not stopping. What are you trying to achieve?
I suppose I really feel like, you know, I'm having a moment people are listening. So now's the time to have as many conversations about poverty and how we can do more and how we can change things as much as possible. So I feel like I'm in a situation where there's so many opportunities. Like yesterday I was invited to Peru to my book is being translated to Spanish. We're going to do a tour and then I'm going to Peru, and I'm like, wow, amazing. So I genuinely feel like, you get one life. And
I'll film that. I'll come with you to film that.
I know. If you get an opportunity, to have a positive impact, take it at the end of the day, as long as it's not at the cost of yourself. So like, yeah, I'm trying to talk and speak and use my story to transform things as much as possible. Like that's my work around my book and speaking. And then like I work in the university. I'm a professor. I do and I don't. Because like academia is very privileged, and sometimes I'm like, I don't really belong here. I do suffer with that I'm an imposter, not imposter syndrome, but I am a bit of an imposter in there because I swear a lot and I'm a bit radical in the things I want to do. Some other radical people there, but I struggle with that. But I'm trying to I run a program that's national. It's for girls. It's to make sure that every girl, especially girls in disadvantaged communities, leave school knowing that they can work in STEM if they want to. And so they get a university qualification. It's funded by the Department of Education, Research Ireland, and 11 industry partners. So I run that as well. I have 11 staff. I'm strategically pushing that. So my goal, my vision is for that to become a national policy, and it's funded through the state. So that's where I want to finish this work, this particular piece of my work in the university. But in terms of the book, I just want to change people individually, but also have impact on policy. So yesterday I've been invited up the north. No, I did Cherry Orchard last night, but the Northern Ireland, all of the chiefs of the civil service, I did a keynote for them. That was amazing because that's the people who will transform things. So if you talk to them about trauma and poverty and get their hearts going, you're going to see transformation. So this is my moment. It's turning into a long moment, so I probably need to reduce some of the things that I'm doing because it's a lot.
What do you do for crack? Do you drink? Do you go to the gym?
I don't drink. I go to the gym. I don't drink, no, because I'm sober. I've been sober for 20. No, okay. You're grand. What do? I love Real Housewives. I love maths. I love shit TV without anybody there. The kids, they judge the life out of it. I love shit TV. Love to mooch on social media. I do like the gym, strength training. I got my hip replaced recently, so it's been tough to get to the gym. I do love the gym, but going is hard in my head.
You're a bit of a ride. Do you get blow dries and stuff?
I don't do it myself. I'm gifted. I do my hair myself.
Because you don't Botox, you don't do bullshit things, but your hair is... Okay.
Yeah, I don't Botox, and I kind of feel like, I just feel sad that we're so, what's wrong with getting old? Old women are beautiful.
What do you think of women, Katriona, as a whole?
I love women.
Do you?
I love women. I absolutely... last night I was in Cherry Orchard at this event. It was all women, and it was just so warm. I just love that we can talk about pissing ourselves and hating on men, and then our roles and our lips and all the things. I just hate to be a man. And in some ways I love it because they just get listened to more in some ways. But oh my God, the diverse conversations that you can have, the expression, the love, the hugs, the cries. I love it. I love being a woman, and I love women. And I suppose in some ways I wrote my book for women. And if I could change anything, it would be women. It would be what women experience and what they get. Because that's I know this from research. When you empower a woman, you change the future of the world. We change the world. Men lead it, unfortunately, or fortunately, in case there's men listening. Women change it. We are the ones that transform families. And without empowerment, without care, without affirmation, money, stability, that doesn't happen. So I fucking love women.
I love you. I think you're amazing. Thank you for coming on the pod.
Thanks for having me.
Sponsored by Optimal Follow On. We believe that every feed is a gift. That's why we've dedicated over 50 years to breast milk research. Optimal Follow-On Milk, your life, our science. Breastfeeding is best. Follow-On milk should be used as part of a mixed diet from 6 months. Talk to a health professional. If you like this episode, will you please rate it, subscribe and share it with others? This helps me get the guests that you want to hear.